and we're going to talk to him in just a little bit. You know, yesterday on this couch, we asked Secretary Kristi Noem, DHS Secretary, I said, are you worried that you're going to attend the funeral of one of your agents? And she said she thinks about it every day.
I mean, it's just disgusting. And again, you're going to want to tune in for Tomhoman at 6:30 a.m. here.
A Fox News alert. Chaos in California. Federal agents deploying tear gas while protesters hurl rocks during an ICE raid at a marijuana farm allegedly staffed by illegal immigrants. The scene escalating when a protester seen here appears to fire a gun at the feds. The FBI now offering a $50,000 reward for info on the suspect. All of this comes as we await a ruling by a Biden-appointed federal judge who's expected to curb all federal immigration operations in Southern California. Boarderczar Tomhoman joining us now. Tom, I watched that video out of Camarillo, California yesterday and was just mortified. What happened there and what is your reaction?
My reaction is the same as been from day one. That, you know, people are welcome to protest. They have their First Amendment rights grew up, but they can't cross that line. They can't impede us from doing our job. That's a felony. They certainly can't put hands on an agent. That's a felony. So what happened in California is just another example of protesters becoming criminals. And they've been emboldened by even members of Congress who compare ICE to Nazis and racists and terrorists. I mean, the rhetoric is so high, and I said 2 months ago, it's going to end up with a loss of life. And we had one the other day in Texas, and it's not over. I mean, the rhetoric has to end. ICE agents are simply enforcing the law that members of Congress enacted, that they wrote, they created, and was signed by the president. If people want to complain about the job ICE is doing, then go complain to Congress, because we're enforcing the laws they enacted. We're doing our job.
Hey, Tom, can I just take you back? You just said you had a loss of life in Texas?
Yeah, you had a person attack a Border Patrol facility, firing at the facility, and BORTAC agents.
Right. The individual that assaulted him lost life. Okay, I was just clarifying, making sure you weren't making news there that an agent had lost his life, and that is, of course, the fear. But you talk about those politicians and the rhetoric that clearly seems to be fueling much of this, but you've also got some distortion of the facts. This was a post that California Governor Gavin Newsom put up yesterday. Kids running from tear gas, crying on the phone because their mother was just taken from the fields. Trump calls me new scum, but he's the real scum. We later find out there were 10 juveniles in that operation, that were 8 of which were unaccompanied minors. What do you say?
I graduated with a bachelor's in pastoral theology, and I work with the position here that I'm at as an assistant pastor. I
see this every day, and I said from day one, when President Trump became president, that they're going to vilify the men and women of ICE. They'll vilify the men and women of Border Patrol. They did it during the last administration, except this time, the rhetoric's at an all-time high. Every day I get up and I read the media posts at the White House, and 90% of the stories are just fake. They're lies. So, and people say, well, the polls are kind of turning against Donald Trump a little bit on immigration. First of all, I don't believe it. If the polls turn it off, because all the fake news out there, they're lying about what the President Trump is doing. They're lying about what the men and women of ICE are doing. And that kind of turns, the tide against us a little bit. But that's why, members of the administration are out there every day setting the facts straight. The fact is, I read in the paper the other day, the majority of people who arrest are not criminals. Wrong. Look at the data. Go to ICE.gov and look at the data. But we got some media saying, well, it's just a misdemeanor. It's not a felony. They're not really criminal. Oh, they're not convicted. They're just charged. Oh, they're not criminals. No. We're prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats, and that's a fact.
But Tom, it strikes me unbelievable that the Democrats are not on board. When you look at this raid, there were 10 juveniles that were illegally brought across the border. You and I covered this under the Biden administration. I was down in Texas. We encountered 8, 10-year-old, 12-year-olds coming across with just a name and an address and a phone number on their necks, the cartel ruthlessly sending them across. And yet now we know that 10 of them, 8 of which were unaccompanied minors working illegally in a marijuana farm, and your agents go in and rescue them essentially, and yet there is violent resistance to that. Does that upset you?
It certainly upsets me, and like I said, the work men and women of ICE are doing is incredible. Look, we're looking for over 300,000 missing children. We've already found 10,000. Have you heard that anywhere? No, the media is simply not covering it. And look, this should be a nonpartisan issue. Arresting public safety threats and national security threats, everybody be all on the same page on that. Rescuing children, I mean, it should be a nonpartisan issue. Everybody should be in lockstep on that, but they're not. The media is lying. The Democrats they don't want President Trump to be successful. I got news for them. We are being successful. Every illegal alien public safety threat we arrest makes this country safer. Every national security threat we take off the street and deport makes us safer. And we're rescuing thousands of children. The lives saved every day by ICE, the lives saved every day by Boarderczar, are in the hundreds. So it's the only thing I can think of, Griff, if they hate President Trump more than they love their community. They hate President Trump more than they want, safe communities. And there's just no other excuse why this is not, why this has become a partisan issue to take public safety threats off the street.
And before I run out of time, Tom, I've got to get your reaction to this Biden-appointed federal judge out in Los Angeles, apparently expected today to issue a temporary restraining order halting your lawful operations. She says, I think it's important for the court not to burden otherwise lawful law enforcement activities. Your reaction there?
Look, people need to understand, ICE officers and Border Patrol, they don't need probable cause to walk up to somebody, briefly detain them, and question them. They just need, so totality of the circumstances, right? They just got through the observation, get articulable facts based on their location, their occupation, their physical appearance, their actions. Like a uniformed border station walks up to them at for instance, a Home Depot. And they got all these articulable facts, plus the person walks away or runs away. Agents are trained what they need to detain somebody temporarily and question them. It's not probable cause, it's reasonable suspicion. We're trained on that. Every agent, every 6 months, get Fourth Amendment training over and over again. These officers are really good at what they do. And if this judge would make a decision that's against what these officers are trained, what the law is based upon, then they're going to shut down operation. I think that's your end game. They want ICE to stop doing this. But if they base it on the rule of law, they're going to find out Border Patrol and ICE is doing exactly what they're going to do in accordance with law.
And you're not going to stop coming. Tomhoman, thank you for getting up with us this morning.
Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rachah Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone for teaching me this truth. It's your brother Rabbi Knapp coming out with a lesson, Lord's will, edifying to the Lord's elect. And I was looking for this soundbite by Tomhoman, and it looks like he says it at the end, but he says they don't need probable cause, man, to pull you over, to do anything. I just want to repeat it one more time. Let him repeat it one more time.
People need to understand, ICE officers and Border Patrol, they don't need probable cause to walk up to somebody, briefly detain them, and question them. They
don't need probable cause to come up to you and question you.
Just need, so totality of the circumstances, right? They just got through the observation,
So what that basically is saying is, he's saying through your observation, so what he sees.
Get articulable facts. They don't need probable cause to walk up to somebody, briefly detain them, and question them. They just need, so totality of the circumstances, right? They just got through the, don't need probable cause.
Totality of the circumstances.
To walk up to somebody, briefly detain them, and question them. They just need, so totality of the circumstances, right? They just got through the observation, get articulable facts based on their location, their occupation, their physical appearance.
Their physical appearance.
Their actions,
their actions, their location. So Esau don't have good judgment when it comes to anyone that's black or brown. It's pretty much, that's all he really needs. He has his preset stereotypes that's already been manufactured in his mind since birth, because this place is racist as shit, and he's gonna go off his own mind. And listen, man, this is why it's important that we follow the scriptures, man. See, if this was a righteous society, then justice would be performed properly, but it's not. Okay, that's why you hear all these. That's why people a lot of people who are getting arrested are they don't even fit the some of them are American, some of them don't have any criminal records, but they don't care about any of that. You know, they got to get deported back, but then you got to go through this this rigorous you know, it's hard to get back, you know, when you after you get sent out. Okay? Jeremiah 17:9. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? And that's what he wants you to go off, your heart, your mind. Okay? Yeah, well, you know, I think this guy might be illegal. Why? Why do you think that? Because he looks Spanish? Maybe he looks like he doesn't speak English, you know? And oh well, we don't need probable cause to go ask him. So now you're creating a situation where you can get hurt. You know, someone just recently got I mean, that was a different situation. Someone got shot in his neck, but you know, coming up on you know, when you're dressed like a regular civilian, that's how ICE is coming up on you. They just hopping out of cars with a surgical mask on and asking you a bunch of questions. Any Edomite can do that. I know people are getting kidnapped because of this shit, man. A lot of imitators coming out, no, are you this, that, and the third. It creates an environment where you don't know who is who. And that's what type of environment he wants. That's why our kids are missing. That's why we live in this type of society. Okay? Because it's wicked as hell, man. Let me see. Is that it? Let me see what else he says.
A uniformed border station walks up to him at for instance, a Home Depot, and they got all these articulable facts.
Oh, Home Depot. Just for example, because it's just a stereotype that's what Mexicans do. They go there and they wait for jobs, but not everyone that goes to Home Depot is doing that. So you could be not waiting for a job. You could already have a job, but you need to go grab some parts at Home Depot. But according to Tomhoman's, he's I don't know. When you some people, he gives me vibes of he's like a sore in your eye. He's nothing good to look at, man. He, it's like talking to a crackhead, man. You know, he crackhead acts like he's not high. He's not trying to rob you or anything. That's the vibe I get from him. Like you just can't trust him. He's like a snake, man. That's what Esau is.
Plus, the person walks away or runs away. Agents are trained. What they need to detain somebody temporarily and question them. It's not probable cause. It's reasonable suspicion. We're trained on that. Every agent.
Trained on that. Get the hell out of here. Then why do you have cases like Abrego Garcia? Oh, that's just you're an outlier. That's not gonna happen like that. You know, why are you deporting people who are not even immigrants? And they were kind of going into this in this video. Maybe not this one, but Tomhoman's been saying a lot about because they were asking, what about people who are non-felons? He's like, well, people who have misdemeanors, and if they're going to district court, then you know they're probably not a saint. You know, like it's just very vague. Like he doesn't really know. He's trying to justify wickedness, basically. You know, he's not doing it in a way that makes sense. You know, when someone's talking to you and they ain't really making too much sense, you're like, it just raise up, you know, red flags. Like clearly you're just lying, you know. Clearly you don't really have an intricate plan. A lot of your ICE agents aren't trained like that. You train them up like you know, you're not giving them the resources they need to be trained in specific areas when it has to do with you know, public and all that. You're not training them up like that. You know, this place is backwards. But this is the type of society we live in, and we gotta expect it. In this book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 12, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, that rejoice you heavens, because the kingdom of heaven is within you. It's talking about the believers. Let me grab that precept. kingdom of heaven is within you. What's that? Luke 17 and 21. Let's jump there. You are the heavens, the believers out there. Book of Luke 17 and 21. Neither shall they say, lo here or lo there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. So that's talking about the believers. Okay? And ye that dwell in them, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, which is the people, the rest of these nations. Okay, the 2/3 and the rest of the nations. For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knows that he have but a short time. Yeah, he's coming down unto you, having great wrath. Okay, as a matter of fact, let's jump down. Revelation 12 and 17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. So that's talking about those who are keeping the commandments, who believe. You're not going to keep the commandments if you don't believe you should. Okay, when you come into this truth, you're going to want to keep the commandments. Okay, and the remnant of her seed is talking about the elect. The dragon represents Esau, Edom, and the woman represents Jacob, Israel. Okay, and the testimony of Yahweh Shah Mashiach is the spirit of prophecy. Grab that, Revelation 19 and 10. And I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said unto me, see thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahweh Shai. Worship the Most High, for the testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. And those of us who have the spirit of prophecy and are prophesying, well, the time is coming where we're going to be persecuted, okay, in order to prove our faith. And that's all part of the process. So don't think it's strange. I think it says in 1 Peter 4, and 12, 1 Peter 4 and 12, beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. But rejoice in as much as ye are partakers of Hamashiach's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. Yeah, exactly. So when the Lord returns, hey man, we're gonna be happy because we know it's this end time, and that's what we're getting close to. Because once he starts coming up against the prophets, we know he's out of here. 1 Peter 5 and 8, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. So you want to make sure, man, you're doing all that you can do to keep this faith, man. Put in that armor, man. You got to keep these law, statutes, commandments to the best of your ability. 1 Peter 5 and 9, whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. Okay. So pretty much this is a fiery trial that we have to get through, man. Okay. So we want to be in the mind and the spirit to the best of our ability, doing the will of the Lord. Ephesians 6 and 10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Okay, with his tricks. Now, the crazy part is some of this news, you don't really hear about it. But because who has time to sit there and listen to that whole video, man? You know, even me trying to find the sound bite of him saying that is, you know, the title doesn't even match what is the most important thing about this interaction. protesters clash with ICE during raid. No, Tomhoman is saying that they don't need probable cause for ICE agents to come up to people, which is a direct violation of your rights, man. You know, typically people are so programmed when they get pulled over. What's the probable cause? What's the probable cause? He's saying we don't need that when it comes to ICE. So that adds more confusion, man. Here it is. They can be acting like police, having their lights on, you know, in unmarked vehicles because they're trying to be like discreet. But it's weird, man, because they just look like regular civilians pulling you over. And some of this is human trafficking going on. This more confusion, man. You can't trust anything that's going on. As a matter of fact, some lady did a video on X showing you different things like putting zip ties on your car and weird shit that these traffickers do. But most importantly, they'll drug you, man. They'll put some shit on a rag and have you touch it. They might put something on your door handle, you know, and then keep following you. That's why you got to understand what time that we're in, man. This ain't the time. You got to be walking expecting. You need to be like you're in a war zone, because this is what a Babylon is. Okay, Babylon means confusion, and you can't be confused in this time, man. You got to wake out of sleep, out of the slumber. Be vigilant, be sober. Okay, there's a devil roaming around. Ephesians 6:12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Okay, so this is a spiritual battle. You have to, you need the sword, man. You need this word so you can see what actually matters, so you can measure the times diligently. Just want to look at this word, principalities. Angels and demons, man. So it's spiritual. Okay. This is a spiritual war, spiritual battle. And the Lord gave us the wisdom that we need in order to fight. Okay. He's given us the information, the intelligence of your enemy. Just like in a war zone, that intelligence can be if you win or lose. John chapter 12. And I'll start at 27. Now is my soul troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour. But for this cause came I unto this hour. Father, glorify thy name. Then came there a voice from heaven saying, I have both glorified it and will glorify it again. The people therefore that stood by and heard it and said that it thundered. Others said, an angel spake to him. Yahushua answered and said, this voice came not because of me, but for your sakes. Now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out. And if I be lifted up from earth, will draw all men unto me. So the Lord, this is the beginning of the end of this devil, man. When the Lord died on the cross, that was the beginning of his end. And look at how much more people have gathered unto Yahushua, Hamashiach, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, through this word. Now there's many that believe that may not be on the highways and hedges, but they believe. You know, they know that Israel, you know, they might not have a full understanding of everything, but they believe in Yahweh Shai. And you know what? A lot of them are that's gonna be enough for some of them, because there's some doubting Thomases that are gonna be out there too, that are gonna believe when they see the power. Okay. So that's the time. It's always been the end for this devil. Okay. That was the mission, and Yahushua successfully endured into the end, like we have to do. Romans 16:20. And the God of peace shall bruise Satan under your feet shortly. The grace of our Lord Yahushua Hamashiach be with you. Amen. So he's going to put Satan under your feet and all our adversaries. But ultimately, Esau, Edom. Because he's the reason why the earth lieth in wickedness. Okay. Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not wherein, who is he? It's not Esau. Then who else is running the world if it was given to him? And how do we know he's still in rulership? Because wickedness is still out here. As long as you see wickedness, and he's happy about 10,000 kids being saved, but there's 1 million kids a year missing. 1 John 5:9. If we, 1 John 5:19, and we know that we are of God, and the whole world lieth in wickedness. We are of God. We know that because look at our actions. We want to glorify the Lord. You know, we don't want to be. We condemn this devil. He has to go. He don't know how to rule. Matthew 24, verse 22, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. For the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. And that's exactly that's why the days are being shortened now. Things are speeding up. And everything's for the elect's sake. The floods, the storms, the civil unrest. When you're aligned with the will of the Lord, man, everything that's happening is in your favor. You know, when they come out with, oh, well, I want to put a chip in you. Good. Bring it on, you damn devil. Okay, bring it on. Now, I don't know if anyone asked for Tomhoman to be their slave, but I'm going to ask for that. Psalms 2:8, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance in the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. So, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, if nobody asks for him, I want Homan. I'll trade in the kingdom. Lord's will be a part of that number. Because he's a devil. He's a demon. 2 Corinthians 4 and verse 3, but if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost, in whom the God of this world have blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Hamashiach, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. So if you don't believe the report, it's because you've been blinded by the devil. All right, you fell for the foolishness of this. You fell for it. You fell for the trap. But don't think he's not coming down with great wrath, because he is. Daniel 12:1, and at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time, thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. So that's talking about the elect. Okay, but right now, hey, he's been beating us up. Daniel 7:25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and a dividing of times. And we're coming out of this time now, where he can just do whatever he's what does it say again, Salakia? Wear out the saints of the Most High. That's coming to an end. When he decides to come take us out, that's when sudden destruction is going to fall upon him. Zephaniah 1:14, the great day of the Lord is near, it is near, and hasteth greatly, even the voice of the day of the Lord. The mighty man shall cry there bitterly. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness. Okay. So that's talking about Jacob's trouble, man. It's nothing great. It's nothing fun. Okay. Jeremiah 30:7, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. And I'm going to end it right there. Lord's will, that was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rachak Wadash. Shalom.